And yes, if you couldn't figure it out, it's open mic night. That's why I left the overlay up there. That's not because I did it by accident and just forgot to get it out of the way. No, it was on purpose, completely intentional, because that's how we run a professional show. Welcome, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. And this is Open Mic Night, which is why we've got the link pinned at the top of the chat over there for you to utilize as you will. And come in and share your opinions on what's going on in the comics industry and pop culture news and whatever's crossing your mind. This is your opportunity to talk about it. With us tonight, we have our regular panelist, Mike Walters from The Mic Stand on YouTube.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mike. And James Lee, creator of The Steins, on sale now. Both books, 1 and 2, on Amazon. We'll get those links out to you during the course of the chat. James, how you doing today?
I also have them on sale on my website. So they're still on sale, so if you want them.
And that's thevonsteins.com.
Yeah, that's correct.
With Vaughn. I remembered all this stuff. Yeah. Your mic's coming through loud and clear now, too, by the way.
Thank you. So hopefully everybody had a good weekend and a really good week.
I did.
It's been kind of flat for me this week. All I did was do some sketch covers. I got some new ones. So this is the one.
I've seen you sharing them on Twitter.
So this is the new one. If you want to see it, this is the new one. Yes, this is an actual sketch cover.
Now, what did you put? Oh, that's the Gods and Gears double fold one, huh?
Yeah, this is double gold. So.
Oh, you went the flip direction on it and turned it counterclockwise and took it.
Yeah, I did it. Yeah, I did a Rob Liefeld. But as you can see, so that's that one. And then I got this one also. So we have this one also.
Very cool. So you just buy a bunch of Gods and Gears blank covers and said, I'm going to go to town on them, huh?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I've already got people asking for them, so.
That's when you know you're a success. I just, today was, I did laundry. I cooked I made a sandwich for lunch. Oh, and I designed something to wipe out half the universe.
Yes, the Lego gauntlet.
So yes, this is the Lego gauntlet. I put it in the ready to snap pose because all of these fingers are they've got every single joint that every other finger's got, a real one. So it's very flexible.
Was that what you were doing with the unboxing video you did earlier? I
don't remember. The unboxing video I did earlier today was the Lego build stream. I opened the box and poured it out. So yeah. Now there is a light kit for this, which will make all the gemstones light up. But I don't know if I want to attempt that because I've already done a light kit for the Big Bang Theory apartment, and that was a test of patience and skill. And I don't know if I want to try that again because especially this one. This one's really intricately put together. I would probably just end up having to rebuild it from scratch if I did that, because it tells you what to take apart and how to put it back in. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Mike, what have you been doing this week?
Well, I mean, I just been doing my show as best I can with, and without saying too much, you kind of know what's been going on the last few weeks.
Oh yeah. Just take care of it though. You had your
trying
first
to
open mic
anyways. Yeah, trying to anyways with that. But aside from that though, content wise, we had a pretty good. I mean, there were I guess 4 things we had. Of course, we had the open mic night on Monday, which you participated in, and I'm glad you did. I was kind of hoping Batgoat and Woody would have came in on that, but they were both unavailable to join us for whatever reason because. If you notice, what I focused on for this open mic night was kind of the Saturday morning memories kind of thing, Saturday morning cartoon memories. I started off with Action Toys channel, but, the thing is, I get that he's up in Canada. Their broadcasting history may be different than ours in terms of, like, maybe they didn't have, like, the Saturday morning traditions that we did here in the States. I get that. So, and you may have noticed I had a little trouble keeping the conversation going until you came in.
Well,
You know,
yeah, it was a uniquely American experience, I think, having Saturday morning cartoons.
yeah. So let's start out with that, and then of course, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was the typical niche newscast stuff, and did come across a couple of interesting stories I was talking to you guys about. Well, you guys obviously heard about them too. Chuck Dixon's, I guess, response to them turning Tim Drake, by or retconning him to where he's attracted to men. I guess that's how John Trent put it in his article. And as I read through that article and stuff, I thought that I think Chuck really, in his response, really articulated, I think, what a lot of the fans of the character and a lot of the fans of comics in general, particularly the older fans, I think he articulated some very good points in that one of the things he pointed out, partly because he was, of course, writing during the time of the Comics Code Authority, how you never really made it a big issue of what somebody's actual, as he put it, proclivities were.
Yeah.
Even though we've had the history throughout DC's history where we've had issues with, he pointed out there have been gay characters since the 80s, and of course we've talked a few times about
North Star,
Batman and Robin, the whole that whole kerfuffle, with Frederick Worthen and all that. But one of the things he talked about too was how when he'd write, if he was going to write something kind of slice of life-ish or whatever as part of the character, he would focus more on the romantic aspects. I think they even showed in the article some of the some of the issues where I guess he and Stephanie were, I guess, being romantic or intimate, what have you. But he said that making these he's another one who's been pretty critical of the whole agenda pushing thing, I believe.
Well, that's the thing. You got to understand something about right now. They can't do anything. I mean, they've lost all their writers. All the big guys went to Substack. Does DC and Marvel both? The only thing they can come up with is, let's go see who we're going to make now bi or gay or whatever. They can't come up with it. No, I'm being serious.
No, I know.
They cannot come up with a story to save their bacon whatsoever. That's why they've lost 85% of their viewing. That's why, like I said, DC went to webtoons. And why DC's having their problems with the printing company right now.
Yeah.
They're not making any money. They're not making money. See, that's the problem. These comic book companies, and this is what I always say, there's a formula to keep these comic book companies going. Mm-hmm. Number one, write stories that's going to sell. Mm-hmm. What's going to sell? It's going to be to that 85% comic book audience that you ran off. You got to get them back. And what they're doing right now is not going to get them back.
No.
I mean, that's the whole point. It's going to be to this point of either they're going to have to eat crow and say, we got to stop this, we got to make money, or they're going to close the doors. Mm-hmm. That's what they've got. I mean, I don't care, because there's nothing stunning and brave about this now. It's like every character they bring out now is doing this. Every character.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not that a character has been made this. It's that you can't throw a stick without hitting a character. Now, I've already, done my thing on Robin, and for my money, if they have to do it with any character making coming out or a discovery, Tim Drake is pretty much the only one they can do it with any logic. Because, yes, we've read Tim Drake for 30 years, but Tim Drake became Robin at 14. He's 16 now. So he's had 2 years. We can't really say, what, you've been dating girls exclusively for 2 years and now you decide that you're going to be, playing for both teams? He's at the age where you could naturally discover that kind of thing.
It's poor writing. This whole thing is, it's all poor writing. And everybody was like up in arms because all these guys are going to Substack. I was like, good, let them go. Maybe now maybe now DC and Marvel will sit there going like, okay, we got to do something, we got to fix this. What are we going to do? But like I said, I'm waiting to see what happens right after their little convention, their virtual convention they did. Remember what happened last year? Right after they had it, the axe fell.
Well,
and I think you're going to see it again.
They've given hints as to what they're going to do next year. They
were making the new Superman Jonathan Kent gay, or suggesting that he's gay.
No, he's already,
they were also trying to retcon Alan Scott as being gay. But the reason I was chuckling, James, at the beginning there wasn't because I didn't think you were serious. I knew you were serious, because one of the things I know that in his coverage, he's pointing out, Yellow Flash, it's like one of the things that DC seems to be doing here is it's like they've got all these iconic pictures of DC characters up on the wall or something like that. They're just throwing darts at who are we going to make gay this week? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that's why I was chuckling, because you're not the only one who said that. It was ironic.
The minute they rolled out Children of the Atom, you knew what they were going to do. When Marvel rolled that book out, everybody knew what they were fixing to do. Then DC was like, "Oh, we got to top them." It's going back and forth between the two companies.
Yeah,
and it's let's see who can run off fans and buyers more. And again, this mindset that's in Hollywood, that's in comic books, of let's trash the fans, let's treat the fans bad, let's write these political stuff that only the guys in Hollywood want to hear about, but don't buy. That's the thing. These people don't buy comic books. They're like, yeah, it's stunning and brave. Well, I'm going to buy it. And they don't, because all you got to do is go look at the sales. Okay,
mm-hmm.
I mean, most of DC Comics sales right now are at 20,000 copies. The 25,000. That's what most of their books are now. Sorry, but that's the truth. Except for Batman, which is still staying in the 100,000 category. Everything else is tanked.
Before we get too far in here, I want to let the chat know we do see you. Keely Chow is saying, "Hey everybody, what's going on?" And it's this. We're talking about what's been going on lately in the comic industry, the new stuff for this week. Robert Roberts, interesting point here. Says, I guess Substack won't last long. None of them have produced any comics I know of, and I think they only have PDF format for comics. So I'm not sure what Substack's going to produce.
This is what I found out about Substack. This is what I found out with Substack. Substack got these writers. The writers have their own artists. Substack didn't hire any artists. So they're going to start producing digital format books, but this is how Substack's going to do it. They're going to run it like Patreon. You pay to read the books these guys are writing and producing online. They're not going to produce physical books at all. It's all digital. Everything on Substack is going to be digital. There's not going to be any physical books at all.
There's no money in a digital only.
But the thing about it is the way they're doing it. If you want to read it, you got to pay to get the access into the. It's like Patreon.
Your Patreon. I doubt very seriously anybody would pay for a digital comic.
But hey, that's what they're banking on. And what I understand is they got $30 million to play with. And that's a big chunk of change to play with.
This is cross.
But I'll tell you this: if I had $30 million, I wouldn't be doing what Substack's doing.
No,
I know exactly what I would do, and I mean seriously, if with $30 million I could build a comic book company from the ground up with new characters and get some really big comic book artists. And I'm talking like Dave Finch, I'm talking like Brett Booth, I'm talking about those guys. You could afford those guys, you could get them in there and really go to town. And that would be an earth-shattering kablammy in the comic book field. But that's not what Substack's going to do.
I mean, we had CrossGen do that, and that's what I see Substack doing, is having this big pile of money and just burning through it. And
CrossGen, the thing with CrossGen was they tried to run it like you do Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what you do with when you do a comic book thing. It's a completely different animal. It's a completely different way of thinking.
Well,
It's a completely different thing.
Mark was trying to rebuild the original Marvel bullpen concept, where we're all in the same room, we're all working together.
Yeah, and it collapsed on him.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you, if you want to look at a model, and this is I like the model. I like the company. I think they do a great job. They've got some good artists and stuff. But I'm saying with $30 million, think of what would happen to Alterna.
Oh yeah.
You think about
they've
it,
already got good artists. They just got to get name artists.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, Alterna is the model of a modern day comic book.
I'll be right back, guys.
Yeah, it's I mean, they've got serious talent in the writing and in the art department, but your normal everyday comic book writer doesn't see a Scott Snyder or a Donnie Chayton.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying you got $30 million, you could go get, and he's freelancing now. I know he is, and you could go get Brett Booth, and you roll Brett Booth into Alterna. And I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying you'll do it, but you get Brett Booth walking doing a book on Alterna, and that's going to shake everything up. Or you get David Finch, or somebody like that coming in to Alterna or to a company like that, and they produce this fantastic book for $1.99. That thing would fly off the shelf. That would be $1 million comic book selling book.
It's worth the investment just to get the cover art, I think, on there.
But what I'm saying, there's ways to do this, and like I said, either DC and Marvel is going to have to eat crow and rebuild from the ground up, or another company is going to have to come in and really take over and knock this thing out of the park. And right now, the only one that I can think of that has the shot at it, because Image doesn't. I mean, now that's Todd McFarlane, Spawn Universe. That'd be, one of those things. But as a company, Alterna, it's got to be Alterna, because Dark Horse ain't going to do it, and and manga is rolling in, but there's been a cloud fall up on manga. First off, I did get to read issue 364 of Berserk. You read it, you're going to have tears running down your face because it's the last issue.
Oh.
And the way they end it is the way he wrote it this way. And I was like, did he know he was going to go, or is it just happenstance? Because the way it ends is, I put it on the same level as Claymore. The way Claymore ends, he ended it so good. I mean, it'll bring tears to your eyes. And the other thing is, One Punch Man has not been released since July 28th. And there's no word on what's going on with that. So we have a mystery on One Punch Man, and of course, 364 from Berserk. That's going to make you cry. I mean, it's really going to make you cry.
So it was an ending you didn't see coming?
I didn't see this ending at all. No, I thought it was going to be the big finale fight between, Guts and what's his name?
Griffin.
Griffin. I thought it was going to be this gigantic, big knockdown.
I work with weebs.
The fight that everybody thought was going to happen, and it just. I really do. I could tell you what happens, but
you won't be spoiling anything for me. I'm 363 issues behind.
Okay. What happens is Guts shows up with the Moon Child, and Casca's there, and Casca is more like a mother figure to the child. And it goes on, and they're doing like a real, kind of like a family thing. Casca's with Guts and like that, and then you get to the end of it because the Moonchild can only has to return before the moon goes down or something happens. Well, he doesn't go down. He doesn't go back to where he was. He's there, and it turns out to be Griffin the whole time. The Griffin was the child, and Griffin just looks at Guts and goes, "Can we go back to where like we were?" And they're both crying, and that's where it ends. All three of them standing there crying.
Okay, well,
I mean, it's a tearful. I mean, you just sit there and you're like going, "Holy crap!"
not with a bang, but a whimper.
Like I said, it goes out on a cheer. I mean, you're sitting there actually crying about it because the way it's drawn and everything. You just, you know.
Robert has a hot take on Alterna's model here, too, by the way. By not locking up publisher ownership, its books collapse when the original writer loses interest, which is, I guess that's the same thing with Image, though. I mean, if Image writers lost interest, it didn't.
Alterna is a smaller version of Image. And that's what I'm saying about the modern take. You're going to have to have it where the headquarters is the publishing thing, and you give a lot of freedoms to your groups. The things like that, and yeah, you can say it's a broken thing, but Image kind of proved it works. Alternatives proving it works, and the thing about it is both companies can adapt quicker than Marvel and DC can. And Marvel and DC right now, their line of sight production that they're doing is not working at all.
Yeah, and I brought up your theory last night too on the LCS guys show about the printers and the line of credit, because Michael Tierney was talking about how DC's not been producing any books for the last 2 weeks, at least not in the quantity that was solicited. And oh, by the way, about fell out of my chair on the LCS guys show last night because we had Frontier Forever Comics on there with their crowdfunder, talking about their Kickstarter and trying to get it done and what it was taking to actually become a publisher. And lo and behold, over there in the chat is a comment that says you have to make it happen from none other than Ethan Van Sciver. So I was.
So what did they think of my
channels and came across us?
So what do you think? What did they say about my theory?
It's perfectly plausible that that this was something that could be happening.
Well, I mean,
and Mike's got like 40 years experience in the business. He's an Overstreet contributor every year for Market Watch. So
obviously, you're not talking about me because
Mike Tierney.
Yeah,
but it just the thing with what's going on with DC. It doesn't make sense that they can't get their books published unless A, they're quietly pulling books that they're not telling anybody about, and they're stopping production of them to rattle in their capital, or B, their credit is in trouble.
Well, I remember seeing a story a while back where they had talked about, they were actually pulling back a number of feature titles, like some of the features ended, but like some of the lesser known features were coming to an end and they just weren't having any more of those lesser features, in part due to a lot of this stuff going on,
Yeah. And Robert, you're right here. They had several series that collapsed in the middle of story arcs, and that does stop you from wanting to.
Yeah, it does. And
I've always said, and this goes to DC. If you have a multiple part story, you need DC
finish the story.
You should have it finished before they start publishing. I had a multiple part Destroyer arc because they've done a few of them in the history of the series. I'm like, hey, I got a 2-part book, and they're like, we don't want a 2-part book. I'm like, it has to be done in 2 parts. This is the only way this story works. It's done in 2 parts because of the architecture of the books.
Yeah.
They got them, but I said what I did was I had to write both books and turn them both in at the same time.
Because they want to touch the second one.
Yeah, because it's like what if something happens to me before I get the second book finished? How would anybody know how it was supposed to end? It would have been a challenge for another writer. So, that's my belief, is that you turn in the complete story, even if it's over multiple issues. So if Alternative's got a problem with that, they need to change it to, policy of, okay, you have a 4-issue series, give us all 4 issues, and then we'll put them out one a month.
Well, see, the thing is with me, and I'm going back what I was told in the 90s. Okay, this is what I was told in the 90s. If you're writing a 3 or 4 book series, you don't even advertise book 1 until you get book 3 done.
Yeah.
And that was the old days, was Marvel and DC and stuff were 3 books ahead of what was coming out. So they knew, so they had time to, they had a 90-day window to fix anything they needed to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's happened. And that's when you get, you get your 3-point, and then they get like a one shot, and then you get a 3-point stories, because they were changing up artists or changing something up, and they had to go to bullpen. But that's just stuff that happens.
Yeah, and of course, that's all also with the company-owned characters and company-owned stories.
Well, I actually sat down. I was like, okay, if I had 30 minutes with Jim Lee, could I sell him an idea to save DC Comics? You know what I'm saying? I mean, get it back on track where it's selling thousands of copies of books. And it took me a while to figure out how to do it, but yeah, I could do it. I mean, it'd be a lot of work on my end, but it would be. This is how you'd say DC Comics, hands down. This would sell it.
You know what their plan is, right?
Oh, they're gonna chop, bop, and completely restructure it to where they're doing graphic novels every 3 to 5 months.
Yeah,
and they're gonna cut
story-wise.
Down
the last issue of Infinite Frontier ended with 3 characters involved: Darkseid, Barry Allen, and Pariah. So when you have Pariah and Barry Allen, and with Pariah putting Barry Allen in another multiverse, the Earth Flash 1.1, where it's nothing but like the Flash and stuff, there's a crisis coming. He's hidden Barry Allen from Darkseid because Darkseid needs him to crack the multiverse. And when the multiverse is cracked, it's going to be a crisis.
Well,
and everything's going to get rebooted.
Yeah, they're gonna do it like that. What I would do, and this is just me, first thing I'd do, scrap everything. Just scrap it.
Yeah.
Don't do this multiverse crud. Don't just you keep doing this thing. Just scrap everything. Go with 11 books.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what I would do real quick. I'd do 2 Batman titles. That's it. Batman Detective Comics. That's it for Batman. Superman Action Comics. That's it for Superman. 2 and 2. That's all they get. 2 and 2. Then I'd run Justice League. I'd run Teen Titans. I'd run Wonder Woman, Green Lantern Corps. Those would be the main ones I'd work with. Then you could add. That's what I would start off with. Those books.
Annual every summer.
But when it came to Justice League, this is your catch. This is your catch 22 for heroes. But I would tear up the Justice League like you've never seen before. I would destroy the Justice League. Because what I would do is I would bring out some characters from Wildstorm and throw them into Justice League, just to really shake everything up, to give this, oh my God, what did he just do? And I take some villains from Wildcats, and you know which one I'm talking about, and I'd stick him with Darkseid, and I'd let them go completely berserk against the Justice League. But what I'd do is I'd have Justice League, you'd have a group in the United States, you'd have a group in Europe, you'd have a group over here, and each month you'd get a different group. So you'd have to, and they'd be working together, but you'd have a different group of heroes. That way you could cycle your heroes in, and everybody would still get Aquaman and stuff like this without having to have 50,000 titles for each character.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, DC has done that in the past with Justice League Europe and Justice League.
No, I'm talking about this is what you need to do now. But no, just you don't do 5 different Justice League books. You do 1 Justice League book, just 1.
Well, so yeah, with a large cast of team characters on the roster,
you can
but you
switch them
only
in and
have
out.
you only have a focus on so many of them per mission, just like Legion of Superheroes was. Legion of Superheroes had like 30, 35 members at one point,
Right.
and but you only saw like 5 of them in any particular story.
Correct. And the thing that you would do with Teen Titans is real simple. You could do them in a way like the X-Men. Make it more serious, make it more personal, and have like a wide. I bring in what's oh God, I can't remember. Who's the little guy in Wildcats? The leader of
I'm not
Wildcats, not
I'm not a
Spartan, but
Wildcats reader.
I would have somebody like him be the financial backer to Teen Titans and be
Oh,
the
I know the
one.
guy you're talking about. Yeah,
No, Void was always with him.
yeah. I don't remember his name, but he was like he wasn't.
He was a Kalindo.
Yeah,
He was one of the aliens, but he was the main. He wasn't. He never fought. He always financially supported Zealot and Spartan and Grifter and all them. He had the plane and everything. So that's what I would. That's what I would do to fix this debacle.
Mhm.
And I would go into Batman, make it much darker, make it where you got a 3 or 4 issue detective story where he's having to figure out what the hell's going on, and then in the third or fourth issue it comes to its climax.
yeah.
To give you
Not
what
only does he have to figure it out, but it has to be done in such a way that the reader can go back to the previous issues and say, "Yep, it was all there."
Yeah, but I'm saying the reader has to figure it out too,
Yeah,
and you give the clues also to the reader. So yes, Batman's going to figure it out, but can the reader figure it out? That's the other thing.
they don't do that anymore. It's always some
Oh,
Deus ex machina that I just
but
went back and I looked up something and I found this.
no, but you do it. But you drop everything where they can see this, and at that point you have your stuff that you can work with. And on Superman, real simple. I would bring him back in as the great American hero. He's shining beacon of hope, respect. The whole thing.
Yeah, but they're not
I'm
going
not
to do
talking
that.
about what they're doing. I'm talking about what I would do.
Yeah.
To save DC Comics, because I know what DC Comics is doing. They're completely self-destructing. They're their
Yeah.
worst. They're their
Well,
own worst enemy.
Like
here's the thing about DC Comics: even the heroes don't want to be there. Superman is leaving. Batman is leaving. Wonder Woman's going to die. It's just there's other guy. Okay, you took our world. You can have it. We're leaving for
Yeah,
somewhere
I mean,
else.
it's just so bad right now.
yeah, even in the times when I've like covered comics and back in the early part of 2000 when I was even starting to actually buy some comics there, I have a few issues of Gotham Central. In fact, there was a time when it seemed like DC seemed to be what you might call the quote unquote more conservative company, and Marvel was kind of more like the more liberal company, right?
They always were.
Now, huh?
They
Well,
always
yeah,
were.
Marvel always seemed that way. Yeah, I get that. Okay. Now it's like from that perspective, they're indistinguishable. It's like they're both lean to the left, But
See, when I really got into comic books, it was DC was the old guard.
Yeah.
DC was the old guard. They had the more upright citizen heroes that were always good. Marvel was the teenagers. They had the wild heroes. They had the wild villains. They had the wild artists. They had
Mhm.
it was this is the teenagers. This is the yippie group. This is the older group, and that's the way it was. That's the way. That's the way it was. And now it's like a complete disaster.
Yeah, I never saw the. I know the X-Men were always supposed to be teenagers. I never saw them as that in the way they were drawn and in the way they acted. It was always just like they were.
Well, when they first came out, yeah, it was, but they got older because you got when you bring Wolverine in, who's 128 years old,
Well, yeah,
and then you're having Scott marrying Marilyn Pryor, that changed everything, and then Aurora's having her fling with Forge, that stuff. So you had that aspect. And and then you have Rogue come in. Now when Rogue came in, she was young. even the comic book, she was young. She was about 16, 17 when she came in
Mhm.
because she ran away from Mystique because her powers, especially after she got in a fight with Carolyn Danvers, that whole thing that set Rogue into becoming one of the most popular characters of all time.
Yeah, I remember when they depicted that on the X-Men the animated series, um, in the early '90s. There, they depicted that story.
Yeah, but in
Yeah,
the comic book, it was much graphic. I mean,
much more graphic. You mean?
oh yeah. I mean, you have to understand. In the comic book, it happened in the Avengers. Carolyn was coming home, and Rogue was sent basically to kill her. And Rogue grabbed a hold of her because she was Miss Marvel at the time, not Captain Marvel, and she didn't. And Rogue didn't let go, and it became permanent. And for a long time, we thought Carolyn was dead. We thought she was either comatose, dead. She was really jacked. Rogue really did a number on her. And it also messed up Rogue because why? She took so much from Carolyn Danvers that some of them basically like Carolyn Danvers was in the back of her head all the time. She was getting the
Yeah,
same personality.
they actually, granted, maybe not in the same details that you
Well, no, I
described.
know. I've seen the cartoons. I know which one you're talking about. But no, it was
Yeah,
much more graphic in the comic books, and especially when
Yeah.
she went to Xavier, because when she got there, this is the one where they were all poisoned and they had to go to Japan. It was just her and Wolverine, and Wolverine dropped her on the ground and he was ready to kill her. He wanted to kill her right then and there. I mean, he had the claws. He had his fist completely wrapped up right underneath her chin. He was going to do it right then and there. And I think it was Xavier. I think it was Xavier. I have to go back and look at the comic book. But something stopped him from doing it, and she went off with him to Japan and fought a Silver Samurai for the cure to save the X Men, and that's how she got into the X Men. But yeah, I remember when she came into the X Men, man, Wolverine just wanted to rip her apart. He was furious, and I mean it was a brute. I mean that whole story was so dark. I mean it was one of the darker stories of the X Men.
yeah. I could still remember. I still remember that episode I was just telling you about where, Lenore Zahn, who was doing the voice of Rogue in that cartoon. I still hear it like, "Mama, this doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good.
Well,
Hold on, Rogue."
but she didn't. But the thing is, when in the comic book, that's not in the comic book. She's doing it on purpose. She is cold blooded, vindictive. As a
Yeah.
villain, Rogue was a very scary villain because she was very vindictive. She was very, she didn't give a crud.
She
You
only
know,
became a better person because she absorbed Carol Danvers' personality.
well, and then that part where she lost her powers and the Marauders got a hold of her when they were in Australia. It was just her and Wolverine. They spiked Wolverine up. This is when Jubilee came in.
Yep.
And the Marauders got Rogue back in that back corner and just basically gang raped her and just did so much onto her that Carolyn's persona took over. And that was when that led up to the part where she got pulled with the Sentinel into the portal. Remember? And then for
Yep.
like a year and a half, she was gone. Basically, she left.
She was in the Savage Land, wasn't she?
No, 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 no. That's not. That's when she came back. That's when Jim took over.
Yeah.
See, when Jim took over, and they were going to bring her back. She just popped up into her apartment, a puff of smoke type thing. They didn't say how she got back, but that's the double page panel where she's completely nude. I mean, yeah, it's covered by smoke, but she doesn't have anything on. That whole double page panel spread, and then she ends up going to the Savage Land, and that's when she splits with Carolyn Danvers when Magneto makes the decision for it.
Hmm.
And then she gets, it's the first time you see her where she's not in a full bodysuit. It's, she's away from everybody. She's able to relax. She's able to relax in her own skin, basically. And then she realizes her powers are turned off. She gets to have that moment, and it's kind of ironic that her romantic moment is with Magneto and not with anybody else. I mean that happened. So that's in with that, and so on with that. But just for those 3 issues that she's in that outfit, the Savage Land outfit, that is the most iconic pictures of Rogue. If you ever see, you go to conventions and somebody said, "Will you draw Rogue?" Okay, would you draw in? It's always, "Will you draw in the Savage Land outfit?" And they always, it's just one of those things that for just 3 issues of all these X-Men, I mean, of 500 issues of X-Men, just these 3 issues, and she's not even, I think the most pages is like 14 pages is all you see that costume, but 14 pages, yeah. Well, that's close, but I mean that's the cosplayer.
This is our August bombshell of the month, Euphoria. Just
Yeah.
a bombshell last month, and it was one of the pictures that she sent to us for her photo layout.
Yeah, and once again, Savage Land. But it's such an iconic, it's just an iconic picture. I mean, Jim drew her and did a great job, and yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how we started the conversation, with Chuck Dixon's response to Robin being. Well, yeah. Let me finish now. We started there, and now we're into Marvel. Now we're talking Marvel, so I think it might be a nice segue into one of the other news stories that happened this week. The whole thing with Al Ewing and Joe Bennett and all that. And what was your take on that?
That took me by surprise because I'm like, why am I looking at these, Joe Bennett pictures again? This was like last year's news.
Oh, you're talking about the cartoon that he wrote, that political cartoon?
Okay, that cartoon was actually in 2017.
Right.
No, I'm talking about the jewelry store scene that was in Immortal Hulk.
Well, that's not. Well, yeah, the jewelry store scene, yeah, right, Immortal Hulk, but it was not that one. It was the one for the Brazilian politicians. That's the one the guy went berserk over. And the thing about it is it's Brazilian politics. He's from Brazil. Joe Bennett's from Brazil. It's one of those things. And now Marvel has completely cut ties. So Joe Bennett's out of a job.
Joe Bennett can come to crowdfunding. We'd love to see Joe Bennett draw books.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The thing about it is there's so much opportunities now in the independent circuit that you don't need Marvel to DC.
No.
Well, yeah, and the political cartoon was they were trying to make it sound like it was supposed. It was now he was describing his political opponents in this.
No,
but
what he did was he drew the person he was supporting, and the political people that were being basically rats and heads cut off on it were the corrupt politicians at the time,
right?
That everybody wanted out of the office. That's what the cartoon was, and so the other guy just said it was he felt it was racist and it was this and that and the other thing. And,
well, yeah, because Al Ewing, and when he made his contract, I've been following the story a bit, for the last few weeks. What Al Ewing was basically getting at, even though he didn't outright say it, he was basically hinting that that particular political cartoon had an anti-Semitic meaning to it because supposedly the rat, now granted, rats have always been depicted as corrupt politicians as well. But what he was basically saying was the rats are supposedly Jewish people, and part of it was, well, if this guy, the candidate he was supporting was out to exterminate them and utterly annihilate them, then he, kind of throw them back to the whole Holocaust situation.
Yeah.
Basically, I don't know if anybody would have. I didn't, even when I saw the cartoon, because they showed the picture of that particular political cartoon a few times, I would not have even thought anything that could be anti-Semitic in any way. Because rats, the idea of comparing corrupt politicians to rats, I mean, we talk about people in DC, we call them swamp rats a lot. So, I mean, I know Tug had thrown out an interesting theory as to why things ended up this way and why Marvel did this now instead of doing it earlier, because supposedly they've known about this cartoon for years. I mean, it's been no big secret, but the reason they didn't necessarily fire or sever ties with Bennett before is because they were making money hand over fist with Immortal Hulk.
Yeah, so until Immortal Hulk was done.
Yeah, once Immortal Hulk was done, oh, now we can throw this guy under the bus. You know,
Yeah.
even though in another article I had reported on from Bounding into Comics, there's another artist at Marvel that they haven't said they're not talking about severing ties with him. Bill. Now I may be getting the name pronounced wrong here. Bill Sienkiewicz. Sienkiewicz. Okay. He, what was it, last year or a year before, he came out with a cartoon like something like, I don't know, it was the 15 or 20 most punch bowl faces, and they all happen to be conservatives.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah, including Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the Trump brothers, you know, Donald Jr. and Eric, Tucker Carlson, Sean Hannity. So it's like, and yet they're not severing ties with him, but of course we all know why. They more or less agree with him. It's just that they didn't necessarily agree with Bennett, I guess.
Yeah. By the way, Al Ewing in 2016 took our best writer of the year in the Critical Blast Readers poll. We sent him the trophy. Fortunately, we were able to communicate with him through DMs before whatever list he enacted put us in the situation we're in now.
It kind of interesting. You gave him an award a few years ago, and he has you blocked.
He has us blocked now. He didn't have us blocked then because we communicated through DM so that I knew where to send it. But
yeah, but even though, you know, and I wonder where that trophy is. I wonder if he displays it or if he just.
I doubt he even knows he has us blocked. I'm sure he ran a block list at some point, and we just got caught up in it. But
yeah. So, I mean, and I know that John Trent, who is the one writing the article on that for Bounding into Comics, I know he was kind of pointing out the hypocrisy, how they basically let go Bennett, but yet they kept Sienkiewicz.
Yeah.
So I mean, well, the whole situation on their part is hypocritical, you know, across the board. It's like, and now of course a lot of those same comic pros are whining because people won't buy their books. Yet, if you remember, Gail Simone outright told him, "Hey, you don't like my politics?
Nope, wasn't Gail.
Like my book."
That wasn't Gail.
That wasn't Gail.
Yeah, that was Kelly Sue DeConnick.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought it was
talking about the video that keeps playing a lot. You see on people's
I know.
That wasn't Gail. But the thing about it is, this is where we're going back to the fans, and this is where it used to be, like in the 90s and everything. The artists, the writers, they love the fans. They interact with the fans like that. Now the writers and the artists trash the fans. A lot of them do, and the problem, and what they. This is where they're going to get their surprise. It's the fans who buy the stuff. It's not the people on Twitter. It's not the people on Facebook. It's not the people on social media. They don't buy nothing. They don't. I mean, they don't. I mean, this one of the people, I forget who it was. Was on and said, I don't remember what. I was on Discord. They're like, "Oh yeah, look at what DC's doing." I said, "When's the last time you bought a DC comic book?" "Oh, I never bought a DC comic book." Then why are you praising it if you're not buying it and supporting them? If you're not buying it and you're praising it for being done like that, you think anybody else is buying it?
Yep.
He was like, "Well, yeah, the other guys." I was like, "No, they've lost 85." I told him, they lost 85% of their business. It's because, they're pandering to one group, but that group doesn't buy anything. And the group that was buying stuff, they ran off. And that's like I said, that's right now, the best thing they could do is eat crow, start from scratch, get new writers in there, and just, go to town. But do I think they're going to do that? No. Do I think they're going to get in bigger trouble? Yep. Do I think they're going to get in bigger financial trouble? Oh, yeah. And it's going to come down to Discovery's going to make a decision on DC. And I've been trying to warn people, Discovery is a European company. They don't give a rat's butt about Hollywood. And if they see that something's not profitable, they're going to come in and they're going to butcher it. And AT&T did that with 660 people getting fired last year. October's coming around. They may have all these plans, but I am guessing right now you're going to see a massive firing again. And I think it's
firing or massive firing.
Firing, as in laid off.
Trebuchet.
Yeah, I mean DC's already had a couple of major bloodbaths already that people.
Well, they had the big one back in October, the 660 people in one day.
Yeah.
And every editor except for Jim Lee was terminated on that day. Every editor except for Jim Lee.
And I don't know what Daniel Cherry's doing for the company. I mean, this guy just kind of was handed a comic book company. He's done nothing in comics before.
Except run his mouth. I mean, he's had a few interviews.
Well, the thing about it is, and this is the thing, they're going to put somebody in there, and they're going to give him enough string to hang himself. Either he performs and they start getting in the black, or they're going to fire him and replace him. And that's the way you run. That's the way you run a business with the upper management. And if they're having the money problems they're having, that I think they're doing, this guy's going to be gone real quick.
They got a generic CEO to see like a generic business, and he doesn't know anything about the business. It's a fan-driven business. This isn't selling widgets.
Yeah, and the thing about it is you need somebody in there. This is what you need as a CEO for DC Comics. Number one, a guy with a backbone. Number two, to separate the politics of that person to what works for the company. And three, willing to make tough decisions to make the company profitable. Profit is number one. Profit is the most important thing right now. And the only way you can do that, hey, Nefarious, your book's on the way, by the way. It'll be shipped tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm just waiting to see if you guys run karaoke tonight, Nefarious. Over on the Global Frequency. Sometimes on Sunday nights they sing, and sometimes I join them. Sometimes Marmalade joins them.
But yeah, it just
little lady marmalade.
No, little fuzzy orange marmalade.
Yeah,
yeah,
I know.
The other thing you got to get in there is a boss who knows comic books and loves the characters.
Yeah,
that's the key. A boss that loves the characters.
Yeah, the people that could have done this, they waited too long. They're gone.
Well, no,
Roy Thomas is out there.
Well, no, there's people that are out there that are my age that could go in and do it. You know, I'm talking 45 to 55 years old. They could go in and they could go in and turn this thing around. So, you know, but DC is going to have, well, not DC, Discovery is going to have to do something because DC is walking into a complete disaster.
They're going to have to do it soon because, see here,
October.
We talked about this.
It's going to be next month. I guarantee you they're going to do something next month.
We talked about this, and your boy talked about this at the beginning of the pandemic when people couldn't get out. They couldn't go to stores. And he talked about, buying comics was a habit. And, there's books on how to break habits. And it's basically if you can stop yourself from doing it for 12 weeks, you've broken your habit. How long has it been since you bought how long has it been since I bought a DC comic? I couldn't say. There's nothing out there that I have to go buy and read now.
I bought the 1000 that when I saw, Bernie Wrightson's artwork on it. So
I think the last one.
RJ, every few weeks you can drop in on Friday night and you can hear some classics of DC lore.
The good stuff.
Yeah, like speaking of which, of course, as I'll use this as a bit of a segue, this Friday, September 17th. Is the episode of the Mike Stand, the historical comic retrospect that you've all been waiting for.
Action?
Yep, action number one. I'll be spending the majority of the program going over action. We'll probably at the beginning we'll be doing some summary work, be going over, just a quick review of like Superman, of the three main characters in it that started off with Superman, Zatara, and Tex Thompson. We'll just be talking, going over real real quickly, or as quickly as I can get them out. Powers, abilities, weaknesses, paraphernalia. Maybe a couple quick notes here and there. And then once I do all that, of course, then I'll actually get into reading the actual stories of Superman, Champion of the Oppressed, part 1 of 2, of a 2-parter that concludes in act number 2. Zatara, I don't remember the title of his story, but Zatara will be facing off against who is considered his arch foe, the Tigress. I think it had something to do with a freight train robbery. And then Tex Thompson in Murder in England.
Yeah, the Tigress went on to become a Green Lantern villain under the name the Huntress. Which
that was a different Tigress. That wasn't the same Tigress.
Oh, different Tigress? Okay.
Yeah, that was a different Tigress.
I'll have to dig into my DC Who's Who and look that up.
From what I've heard, at one point they were actually trying to say that Tigress that you're talking about, Huntress, Paula Brooks, was the daughter of this Tigress, and actually since then it's been proven that that's not the case. So,
speaking of Tigress and Sportsmaster and all those people in the Injustice Society, I would be remiss if I did not tell people to tune in and watch Stargirl, which is in its 2nd season now on the CW. Still the most entertaining CW superhero show that's out there. And it's as optimistic and as cheery and as fun as it is. They've made Eclipso scary as heck. I'm keeping it age appropriate.
Eclipso should have always been scary as hell.
Yeah.
I mean, Eclipso ain't no joke. I mean,
Well, I mean, in his introduction in this series, episode 1 of season 2, he appears as a little boy, and he tempts this girl to go across the street to a party that her mother said she couldn't go to because she disobeyed. And ultimately, the girl gets killed by Eclipso. And we find out that girl was Dr. Charles McNider's daughter. So that sets up the whole Eclipso.
Well, I guess that's something new. There's something part of the DC cinematic universe, because I don't
part of the TV universe.
Yeah, because as I recall, I don't think McNider had. Not only did he not have kids, I don't think he had. Well, not only did he not have a daughter, he didn't have any kids at all, if I remember correctly.
I'm not sure that he ever did either, or at least that they were. If they were there, they weren't in the fore of everything. In the TV series, of course, Stripesy makes it clear that they wore masks because they all had families that they had to take care of and make sure they kept safe.
Which was something that I think was brought up in the comic story America versus the JSA back in the 80s there. And,
Roy Thomas.
And as a way to explain that kind of break in the 50s there, where basically almost all of the superheroes, with the exception, of course, of Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Green Arrow, all more or less went into retirement, and you didn't start seeing any of the Golden Age JSAers until Flash of Two Earths and Flash 123. So
they've been McCarthy'd out of existence.
Yeah. Some people would make the argument that they were still active, covertly in their own cities.
Oh, and some of them they were, I'm sure. Batman probably did.
Yeah.
But that whole America versus the Justice Society was an excellent Roy Thomas piece, where Batman's diary was found, and the whole reason the Justice Society was being tried was because Batman was accusing them of treason, and of course it was a ploy because he couldn't just come out and say, hey, on this day, do something. But it forced them all to go over all their cases and realize, there's something left undone. And Time Traveler Per Degaton is going to appear right about now. And there he is. And that's the whole thing Batman was setting them up for, was to, hey, take care of this guy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when I was doing my own DC, when I was basically doing my own thing with DC that I'm doing now with comics in general on Fridays, I didn't get up to that story yet. The furthest I'd got on my own with DC was up into the early 60s. Now think about that. Think about that. Now, granted, I wasn't doing it weekly; like I was basically doing it daily. So you understand why it was so hard to try to get all the way up to modern day.
Oh, yeah.
But it's forever. Like, yeah. I mean, think about that. I start as you've noted, RJ. I start all the way back at the beginning, 1935, and then would Now, granted, I also was not really reading the stories. I was just more reading the synopses a lot because I was trying to construct the universe in my head, as it were.
Yeah, and you've only got so much space in there, man. I mean, granted,
it's like
remember a lot.
I don't know if you've ever tried to like really maintain a whole lot of information in your head. It's like after a while, your head starts to throb a bit.
Yeah. And you store and process things very, very quickly, and a lot of it. So by the time you do get to modern day, you're going to be go on Jeopardy for comic books, man. You'd be like, just run.
Well,
run the whole
and I had explained to you why. Like for me, it's like there's that part of me that of course, would love to visit the DCU. So if you're gonna want to go visit a place, you're gonna want to learn everything you can about it, right? Now, granted, you're one of those who also is a big DCU guy, but not everybody's into the DCU. Some people are into Marvel, some people are into Archie, some people are into like Dell, So so that's why I started doing it as a more with general comics, and like this Friday, of course, as I mentioned, we're going to be going through Action Comics #1, which many people would say was the dawn of the golden age of superheroes. With that, the other day, this past Friday, we the book we primarily read out of was Dell Comics. I focused on Dell and United Future Syndicate. But the main book I was reading out of was, of course, Dell's Volume 2 of the Funnies, issue 20. I read some Alley Oop, which I was to do all those trying to do the differentiation of the cavemen characters. I was like really working my throat. It's like I was really trying to like, and then with the kind of slow monoslavic, speaking style they have, like me. Pop you on head, it's like, and then trying to really do it deep and gruff, and I had to go and get water at one point because I was like really, but I read some Alley Oop, some Squibbly Gibbet, who even though at this point in 38 he's in Dell Comics, he's one of those titles, one of those features that actually moved around quite a bit. Sheldon Meyer, who wrote Squibbly, would actually take that feature over to DC, and it would become a part of All American Comics.
Yep.
And it would eventually lead to the introduction of the Golden Age Red Tornado Mahunkel.
Yes.
So that was
Although he's more probably better known for introducing Sugar and Spike into the DC universe. They were, I think, his crowning achievement in DC.
Well, as part of his feature too, he's got a 2-page feature right now, at least where we're at with it. One of the other fascinating things about it, and they did this a lot with in this case with a number of features, where trying to get kids more actively engaged. Well, in this particular case, what Sheldon did was, under the pen name Squibbly, of course, he had a secondary part of the feature that he called Why Big Brothers Leave Home. And that, and he's got a couple things going on there where in the one part of the story, his little brother sticks a bullseye on his head, goes off to the archery club. And then they've got a thing going on right now with where I'm reading, where they're talking about, okay, well, what's his little brother's nickname, which eventually became Dinky. But anyways, I know there's something you probably want to point out there.
We just got a $1.49 super sticker from Nefarious, and I want to I'm going to write a letter to StreamYards tonight because I keep seeing this happen on other people's streams. People get these super stickers. They can't see the super stickers. So, but thank you, Nefarious. Really appreciate that.
Yeah,
I always can't ever believe it when somebody actually uses that function on YouTube for our channel. Tatsunami is here. Hello, Tatsu. Glad to see you here. Wanted to say that I got a package in the mail today. Not today, but this weekend. Not going to dig through it, but this is a pile of original artwork from Marv Studios. This is going to be packaged up with his book, The Sin Killer, which is going to be coming to us soon from Mixum, to be packaged up and sent out with, Critical Blast logistics to everybody who backed that campaign. Also, just got the notification on tracking that Life on Korra from Mike Jimmy Lorsha de Bruin has arrived in the States. It is off the boat. It has made its way from Switzerland. So,
yeah.
The Netherlands. Oh, sorry,
yeah, just to go back go back for a moment. So the other two books that I kind of looked at real quick, albeit I couldn't read the books themselves because no copies of the books apparently exist, but Super Comics #1, which was kind of interesting. It was a long run. It seemed to be a bit of a long running issue. I think 60 plus issues, but yet there's only like 3 issues available to actually read. But Super Comics #1 is where they had moved like Dick Tracy, Little Orphan Annie, and Terry and the Pirates from Popular Comics to there. So you're going to start seeing Dell Comic expand here in spring of '38. And then I also touched upon Tip Top Comics #25, only Skeleton Data available, but the 25th issue of another, kind of long running series there, just as, a couple interesting notes there. So that was the other day. And then this Friday, as I said, we're going to be looking pretty much at Action Comics #1 the whole time. As I said, I'll do some note work at the beginning, on the characters and maybe 1 or 2 other little notes on some of the other books that came out, but like real quick stuff, not like, again, as I said, this Friday, we will be focusing almost the entire show on Action Comics #1. So I really do hope. I know this is one a lot of people have been waiting for. This is one of the big coverages that I know a lot of people have been waiting for. So I hope to see everybody out this Friday night, September 17th, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. I hope to see you all there. When that comes around, and hopefully I can share some iconic comic history with you.
Yeah, definitely hit up the Mic Stand, folks. Mic Stand, all one word, on YouTube. Get out there and see the history that Mike is dredging up from the prehistoric times of comics up through the fossil fuels that has become today. If you're on Twitter and you're wondering why Megan Fox is trending right now, because who's heard of Megan Fox for the last 10 years, it's worth finding out why.
Did they confirm that she's in the
I'll be right back.
Expendables?
Was she in the Expendables? Yeah.
No, the new one. The new one.
Oh, I don't know. She's walking the red carpet for something. So it's a fashion thing with Pop Sugar. They've got her trending now because she's wearing something. God knows what it is. But it got Twitter to talking. So what was I going to say? I guess I forgot. I covered the 2 things that were coming in that we were going to be shipping out here real soon. Always getting more and more people coming in to talk. I'm surprised myself at how fast this thing is starting to actually blow up on us here. Angels Awakening is the newest client that came on board with us. So right now, Critical Blast Logistics is handling the distribution for Adventures of Tailless, Angels Awakening, Columns of Creation, The Company Men. Glenn B. Fleming's got a book coming out. He's asked us to handle the distribution for on that. Glenn in Monsterland should be here anytime now because the book is done. Joe King in December. Life on Korra 4 is on the way. Red Eyes 2, The Embrace any day now, and The Sin Killer. And we've already fulfilled Florida Man partially and Sunrise Blossom. So that's we're going to be busy, and we're getting some some big orders in here. Yes, Woody Muller, that is absolutely the reason why she is trending, is because of the see-through flesh-colored dress. Um, we put James to sleep.
Well, I'm awake.
He's
Let's try though, but no, I'm awake.
looking at Twitter.
Yeah, well, you know how it is.
Yeah. You got a Discord in one screen, you got a Twitter on the other screen, live streaming
I
in the
know
other.
it's just one of those things. But yeah, I just the the situation with DC it just breaks my heart.
I know. These are what I grew up on, man.
Well, I mean, and I'll explain the thing is, my dad was born the same month that Detective Comics 27 came out. I mean, basically Batman, my dad. So it's just
Yeah.
my dad's gone, so I had Batman. And I guess I'm watching streams of Jim Lee drawing Batman, and I really enjoy those. And picking up, getting back into drawing, getting back to comics, and just seeing DC implode like it is. It just, and I'm sitting here going, I can fix this. I know I can fix it. I can fix it in 24 hours.
Well,
And
first we got to be able to buy it, and the price is probably going to get down to where we can.
well, it's either going to go up on a nutshell where, hey, we're going to fire everybody, and if you want to buy DC Comics, we'll give it to you for $10 million, and some moron is going to do that, or it's going to cave in, and it's going to go right to Warner Brothers, and all they're going to do is make money, keep it where they can make the movies and the cartoons. And their track record on making DC movies, not the cartoons, but movies, is really bad.
Yeah. They're not good at it.
It's just ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for a chapter 11 or chapter 16 bankruptcy through DC Comics here soon. I really
think it's going to happen. I mean, it's happened to Marvel, so it's not out of the question.
Yeah, and when Marvel did it, they just had to restructure how they're paying stuff. But DC, on the other hand, because it's a parent company, then you have the problem, because if you're owned by another company, you can't file bankruptcy without the other company's approval. And the other company, since they own the controlling stock, make the decision where you can go into bankruptcy, or they're going to cut their ties and say, there's the door, goodbye, and turn off the lights.
Become your own company.
No, they're going to turn it off and shut it down.
Yeah.
And that means they take everything, everybody's fired, they turn the lights off, there's no more DC Comics. I mean, it'll be done. I mean, it's because Warner Brothers is not in the best shape either.
No.
I mean, Warner Brothers right now, they've had 2 hits, that's it. And they've got to have it. They've got to have a hit. And the only thing they can get their hands on is Dune. If Dune bombs, Warner Brothers is going to be in trouble.
Dune is a foregone conclusion that it's going to bomb. Dune has never made a decent.
I think everything I've heard about it right now, and I've had some people actually see like the first 20 minutes of it. It sounds like it's going to be really good. I mean, there's been some minor little tweaks on some characters, but that's it. It looks really good. They're already in production for part 2. So, because they split the book in half.
Yeah.
Which I can understand. That book is thicker than anything J.R.R. Martin did.
RJ Robert is asking you here if you ship to Canada.
Yep, I was going to tell him we ship everywhere. We work out all kinds of plans. It's easier to ship to Canada if we're sending a bunch of books than just one, but we will ship the books anywhere we have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as a point of personal privilege, real quick, I want to welcome Woody to the chat. I want to thank him for joining us and help and coming to watch the open mic night here on your channel, RJ. Woody's one of my regulars. been one of my regulars for a while on my
I
channel. So
recognized him.
I'm glad he's here.
Yep, you were. I
Yeah.
think you were gone, and I brought him on. I brought him on the channel here.
Robert's been coming by too. Yeah, Robert's been coming
we're
by too. So
cross-pollinating.
yeah. So just
All right.
as I said earlier, I hope everybody will show up on Friday at least.
I encourage them all to. So we've been going for over an hour here. It might be time for me to snap my fingers, and I'm not going to kill half the stream. I'm going to kill the whole thing. That's what we'll do.
Yeah.
But
It's been fun. So.
It has been. It's always fun. I look forward to these nights where I just kind of sit down and just kind of chew the fat, shoot the bull.
No,
I don't know how those things ever came up as aphorisms, but
for once we actually had some strangeness happen in manga, which, like I said, I can't find out anything going on with that. I've actually looked, but you got.
Is there a paper shortage?
I don't know, but I mean,
because I thought I heard that.
Black Clover came out this week. I mean, a bunch of manga came out this week, but One Punch Man did not come out. We're almost 8 weeks without a One Punch Man.
Now, are you talking about Viz Productions, or are these like they didn't come out?
They didn't come out in Japan.
They didn't come out in Japan. Okay.
Yeah. So
we
did have the release of Berserk 364. So and it is the last one. There's not going to be a 365. So all I can say is it went out. It went out good. I mean, they did a good job. I think what happened was when he wrote this out, I think he knew he was ill, and I think he wrote it out like that just in case something was going to happen. And if it wouldn't have happened, he'd probably turn the story a little here or there just to keep it going to where he could wear his next art. But the way he did it, you could tell he knew he was sick. And it went out. I mean, I couldn't. I mean, I was expecting a completely different ending, but man, it worked. It worked so good. It worked so good. So if you get it, 364 Berserk, really well done.
Just reminding folks that they can get the Steins, both books available on sale at www.thevonsteins.com. Yes, you can still get it at Amazon, but why not take advantage of the sale? And I'm going to also put in here that, the mic stand will be hitting Action Comics #1 this Friday.
I hope to see everybody there.
I said tune in, but I meant tune in. But y'all, you know what I mean, folks.
Yeah.
You can't figure it out. You have no business being on the internet.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'd love to see. Of course, I'd love to see them the other 4 days of the week when we're covering niche news as well. But if you can really, if you can only get the one show this week, I hope if you're really interested in comics history and looking back and probably one of the most iconic, titles and books ever to hit, newsstands. I hope to see everybody there on Friday.
This Friday is what we known as the really big shoe. Who was that guy?
Ed Sullivan.
Ed Sullivan. Yeah, I kept trying to think. It's not Lawrence Welk. Why am I saying Lawrence Welk? It's Ed Sullivan. Different guys' theater. But yeah, Mike's out there every night, guys, on the mic stand, building that channel up. So get out there, give us some likes, give us some shares, give us some subscribes. Hard work, persistent work should be rewarded in some sense. So get out there and hit that up. Guys, it's been fun. Hour and 20 minutes, not a bad stream.
RJ, can I have a couple minutes with you after we end?
Always. So with that, go out and find the Von Steins. Go watch the mic stand. And come back here tomorrow night when we will have on Mr. B. Lincoln Branch and his crowdfunded book, Outlier. So we are looking forward to that. We hope to see you here. And as always, chat, we just hope you